This is David Prosper, host of the Leadership Revolution. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast from Public House Media.
I don't know. We'll see. I do love how terrible this Facebook. Yay! It is working! Oh my goodness. This version of Facebook Live is trash. It is trash. It's such trash. Okay. Welcome to No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and I feel and look like garbage, but I'm sitting here with my basic white girl cup, and we're going to try to make it all better because today the tea is very cold. Because much like revenge, today's tea is served cold. Anyway, we have a lot of things to talk about, and I asked for questions on Instagram, and these hoes did not disappoint. And on top of it, it took me like a while to put everything together. And that's really, oh my goodness. This is why I don't ask for questions on Instagram. Anyway, so we're going to go through questions on Instagram because we have to. The gram has spoken. That's the reason why we're having a show tonight. I was considering not doing it. I did a poll on Instagram. Turns out I got to do it. 8 to 2, I think, was the ratio. So here we are, kids. Drake said, get you somebody who can do both. Here I am. David Bobke, does it sound okay? I put my mic further down, hoping that it wasn't quite so hot and I'm not screaming at people. Also, we have a guest on this show tonight, and it's Tiger Balm, because I've been living for this. If I could put this on my face, I would. I feel like garbage. If you're coming in, please leave me a comment so I can see who you are, because I can see my little eyeball counter going up, but David Bobke is the only one who left me a comment, and he has to. It's required of him. Oh, I'm shinier than a soul food cook today. Look at this. I think I had a fever earlier. I'm not sure. Okay. We're going to do questions from Instagram, then we're going to spill Harvey Weinstein tea, then we're going to get into John Grisham, and then we're going to go into like the full-on apocalypse that we're living in, because we are! And then hopefully that's enough. If that's not enough for you to be entertained, I don't know what to tell you. We're going to have to find another show and another apocalypse. So, Eric Shinling from Instagram asked, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid of people being controlled by the mainstream media, because it has become blindingly apparent who is and isn't programmable. And there's a lot of programmable people, turns out, because all these people went from screaming for people to get arrested for not wearing a mask to defund the police. Like, this is, we're on a roller coaster, kids. A roller coaster. I can see Alexa Polar, she sent me a text telling me that she's watching the show. She just can't comment because she's in Facebook jail. And I feel your struggle, Alexa. I feel your struggle. That's what Eric Shinley had. That's what I'm afraid of. Most of the time, nothing, because, I grew up in a very unfortunate place called Detroit, Michigan, and I'm not scared of anything because of it. Aaron, how do you get rid of a dumb whore? Working on that, and I'll have a book out about it in between 1 to 2 years. I ain't just trap, says be safe. Thank you, I ain't just trap. That's very sweet of you. Daniel Sodome something just said sex. That's all he said. I don't... Instagram is disgusting. This is why I don't ask for questions on Instagram. That's why I don't even look in my DMs, because it's no place a respectable person would be. Evan asked the good question, what about Tom Hanks? Of course, I will tell you the story of Tom Hanks and how this kind of happened. So, a few years ago, I would say 2015, 2016, I was kicking around interviewing people that survived satanic ritual abuse, also known as SRA, but it was mostly people in Europe. I found this woman in Belgium who had been chained up on a stage as a child when she was about 7, and they forced her to eat a bowl of human feces as the entertainment for a party. A 7-year-old. And that's the kind of evil that we're up against right now. So I interviewed her. She somehow managed to survive because a man that they kept selling her to, they kept sex trafficking this child to, decided to buy her out of the trade. And he paid some sort of amount of money for her, and they were going to just kill her because sex slaves don't last very long. But if you want me to do an extra show on that, or like, I don't even know if I can do that show on Public House Media because it's kind of gnarly, but if you want to know more about that, I will tell you about it. It's just really gnarly, and it's not for this particular episode of this particular show. So I said that to say this. I went down this European rabbit hole of interviewing victims of SRA, which led me to my own backyard. And I became friends with this woman named Sarah Ruth Ashcraft, who came from a satanic family. Her last name's Ashcraft. And she escaped from her family that sold her as a sex slave her entire life. Her parents did it. They had her marry this man who also sold her as a sex slave. And one of those places that they sold her, although it was a lot of places, was at Cannes. And she lives in hiding in Michigan with a partner, this guy Chris, that also escaped the same situation. I've said this ad nauseum, I feel like, and I really swear to you, I try not to repeat myself, but it just keeps coming up. Michigan is a hotbed for crimes against children, and for whatever reason, it is a hotbed for satanic situations. I don't know why, other than there's a border there. That's the only really real answer I can give you. So I've been friends with her for years. Her and I have talked about so much that's happened to her, to other people, questions that I've had about how this whole mass pedophile global ring works. And she is largely responsible for my general understanding of this entire situation, and she's integral into me being able to do the show now because I became friends with her so many years ago. So when she came out and said publicly, not just to me, that Tom Hanks bought her as a child as a sex toy, I 1,000% believe her. It's just the way that it is. That's the overall big thing here is that all of these people are interwoven. They all know each other, and it is all for it's a club. It's kind of like, I don't know how much time you spent with the mob, but there are rankings in, organized crime, and it's kind of a similar thing to that. The biggest, the heads of heads, the people at the tippy top are people that you've never heard of. But once you get to that mid-range level, it's people that you have very much heard of. And it will shock you. I'm not saying that Tom Hanks is actually into being a pedophile sexually. I don't know that for sure, because how you end up in this washing machine of disgustingness is just like a street gang. You got to get jumped in somehow. And a lot of times that's how they end up jumping people in, as you could say, is so they have blackmail on them. That's why when we talk about Jeffrey Epstein and all of his disgusting friends, there's a big blackmail element to it. And eventually you will see videos of what these people have done to children. Not going to be today because there's an apocalypse out there, but it's because you're going to see those videos is why you're seeing all of this craziness now. Because this evil doesn't just go away. It doesn't just, scurry along into the night and be like, ooh, our bad, sorry about that. We'll be good. Like, that's not how it's going to, like, we're talking about toppling. I don't even know how many years of this thing, this giant, disgusting, massive evil. So hopefully that answers your question about Tom Hanks specifically. Now, that concludes our Instagram questions portion of this. Let me check the live feed really fast and see if I can't get this to share while we're sitting here. Because I can't, whenever I do this on my laptop, I can't tag myself. It's terrible. It's absolute trash. This new Facebook Live situation is absolutely horrendous. Oh gosh. Okay. I can't even find my own live stream to share it. Great. Please share the show. There it is. Fantastic. Perfect. All right, let me take a second and share this because I had to do some serious thumb workouts. Hang on. Colder Than Revenge. Coming for everybody tonight. Post. Okay, great. So glad we got through the Instagram portion of this. We're going to talk about Harvey Weinstein because we can't not do the show and not talk. He's such an attention whore. He's always taking up my time on this show. I'm so sick to death of hearing of him. Anyway, what had happened was, amidst the riots, earthquakes, protests, global pandemic, fires, murder hornets, I think there's an asteroid in there somewhere, all that stuff we've been doing, Harvey Weinstein is back in court. If you can believe it, there are 4 ladies in New York that have filed a civil suit against him, not criminal, civil, because their statutes of limitations have ran out. These women claim that he raped them between the late 80s, early 90s, basically. One of the ladies was 17 at the time. So, hashtag, pedo-apocalypse. But now that he's already been convicted, it's going to make it easier for them to bring a civil suit against him and probably get some traction with it. But at the same time, though, they're number 3 in line because he still has to do his permanent criminal proceedings in Los Angeles if and when our courts ever open again. Then he's got that other criminal suit in London. So there's that. And then I think civil court is going to take a backseat to both of those criminal proceedings. But it's in New York, which he's already in because he's, serving 23 years at Rikers Island. So hello, people coming in. I can see my eyeball counter coming up, but can you please leave me comments so I know who you are? Please, 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 please. Because this version of Facebook Live is straight trash and I hate it. I hate it. But I think it looks better than doing it on my phone, unfortunately. I miss the old version where I could see all your comments coming in live and it was beautiful and fantastic. But I can't do that anymore. And the only person that's commented so far is David Bobke, and Alexa Poehler texted me because she's in Facebook jail. So let me know who's in here and I will talk to you because I love you. I do this show live for a reason. And sharing is caring, so share the show as well. So I think they're going to be taking a back seat in this civil case with him, but we'll see how it goes. Now that he's a convicted rapist, he's a convicted sex offender, he might just pay, although, apparently he doesn't have any money. Word on the street is he doesn't have any money. He was leveraging his film rights he doesn't even own anymore to try to get bail. Hello, Lauren Vale. Lauren Vale got a new bulldog puppy, and it's just so wrinkly and smushy. So that's what's happening with old Harvey, the sacrificial lamb. And we're just going to keep continuing to see his victims get younger and younger and younger and younger, much like our friend Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I posted an article yesterday about John Grisham, the author, saying that if guys that watch child porn aren't actually pedophiles and they shouldn't be in jail for it. Oh, John. And then he immediately backpedaled. Immediately. Again, I really try not to repeat myself on this show, but it turns out I have to. So, I have told you ad nauseum, like a broken record, that law enforcement, the judicial system, more people than you think are pedophiles themselves or they're pedophile sympathizers. Now, I'm going to lay out some tea for you, and you can decide if on your own self, I'm not going to say my opinion on if John Grisham is a pedophile or not. What had happened was he said in an interview, it's so sad how guys my age go to jail for viewing child porn. I mean, sometimes they just get drunk and press the wrong buttons and they end up viewing child porn, and they're sitting in jail for it right now, and it's just not fair. And then, of course, people were like, excuse you, John Grisham? What are you talking about? What on earth are you talking about? So he backpedaled and he's like, I didn't mean it like that. He already stepped in it, so whatever. Now, that enough is bad, and that in itself is bad enough, right? I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that. You don't just, get drunk and press the wrong buttons and end up viewing children being raped. I'm not exactly a porn consumer myself, but I would imagine, despite the taxonomy on Pornhub, I don't think you just press the wrong buttons and have a thing where you get, hello, Roger Neal, you came in at a really dirty time, where you just, accidentally view child porn and accidentally go to jail for it. I just don't believe it for the hottest of seconds. So, let's get into the worst part of this. John Grisham is also the executive producer on 2 projects. The first one is The Innocent Man on Netflix. Amazing show. If you haven't seen it before, watch it. It's gorgeous. The cinematography is next level, and it is a in-your-face testimony to media manipulation. It is 1,000% predictive programming, hiding in plain sight. It's making fun of you to an extent. Second thing that John Grisham has produced. That's the only nonfiction thing he's ever produced up until this point. The Epstein documentary on Netflix that we talked about last week, John Grisham is also an executive producer on. And you know what else he executive produced himself into? Being Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor. Weird, right? I told you that Ted Sarandos keeps strange friends, and I was not kidding. It is no accident that they just magically left out huge details in the Epstein documentary about how, say, Prince Andrew has a little fetish for sucking on little girls' toenails while he rapes them. You don't just leave those things out. You just don't. I was actually in a meeting the other day. There's like 5 or 6 of us we're all producers. We're all working, the same situation. They're like, you could make a thing just about that. How on earth did you leave that out? Just magically left it out. So weird, right? So I will leave you with those bits of information, and you tell me if you think John Grisham is a pedophile or not. I'll just leave it up to you. That's on. You think whatever you want to think. But he seems to be awfully sympathetic to people who happen to just magically, they just got drunk and they pushed the wrong buttons and they just so happened to see child porn and then oops, went to jail for it. How weird. I don't feel bad for any of these people. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of them. If you're sitting in jail right now, and they didn't let you out in this coronavirus nonsense, I don't feel bad for you. I don't feel bad for you at all. Okay. To get back into this craziness, we're going to do another few minutes because this is a wild ride. I was considering not doing the show this week, not for any of this everybody shut up and sit down situation, but honestly because the sound around here has been garbage because I live on the hill. And praise Jesus, thank God. I don't know how people that live on the flat part do it. I really, really don't. Before now, I really don't know how they do it. Anyway, helicopters come from this side, they go to that side. They do not change elevation when they go over the hill, so they basically graze the roof around here, and when it's happening, once or twice, be okay. I can get decent sound on the show. But the absolute helicopter highway that I've been living underneath for the past few days, there's no way to time it. It shakes the whole joint. So, but I got lucky. Earthquake didn't shake the joint because this is bedrock. Also on top of it, this is like one of the only ways in and out of the valley, and the National Guard's armory, all their toys, all their stuff is on that side of the hill, and the riots are on this side of the hill. So this is also high. If you've been watching my Facebook posts the last few days, you'll see all of the military vehicles that have been coming. That's all just right by my house. I haven't even seen anything that's even any further than I could throw a rock from my house. Like, that was all just like not even my neighborhood. It was like my front door, basically, or my front gate, I should say. So I was really worried about doing the show because I was like, I don't even know if I can do this with the sound issue. And then it seemed like it was going to be a slow #MeToo news week because everything else just takes precedence, and that's by design. But turns out John Grisham is, a pedophile sympathizer at the very least. And then Harvey Weinstein's back in court as always. Did not feel the earthquake. No, I didn't. It has to be a nasty quake for us to feel even a jolt. And even if we do, it's usually like a ch-ch, and then it's over with. The last one that made me nervous was that big one that was at 7.2, 7.3 that was way out in the desert by that naval base. And that rocked us, which was a scary one. But other than that, we don't really feel earthquakes. I've only felt a small handful while living here. Oh my gosh. My head hurts so bad today, I can't even deal with it. But we're all hurting this week, and the show must go on, so here we are. Thank God for basic white girl cups. And all of this tea. So, speaking of things that are by design, we are basically living in a flashbang grenade. Like the proverbial one. People that are out protesting, they're out in the world, they might actually be living in a literal flashbang grenade, but up here on the hill with the tea, it's just proverbial. I've seen a lot of people that are overwhelmed, understandingly so. They don't know which direction to go in. They're just so scattered and so hit from every direction, they can't even function. And that is by design. None of this is accidental. None of this is coincidental. This is all 100% in the playbook. That's all what it is. And I've seen a lot of people being like, we need leadership. We need a leader. No, you don't. Everything that you need is already within you. You just have to sit around and take the time to suss it out. And you can do it. God did not send you to this planet without the juice to keep it rocking. You have everything that you need. Everybody's exactly where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. But you don't need a leader. You're good. You're a fully formed adult human being. Don't let anybody just rise up and be like, I'm the leader. This is not an episode of Lost. Like, you don't need any of that. And honestly, you should be, gosh, I have more cords than I know what to do with. Honestly, don't even look, don't look at anybody. Don't just don't. Anybody who's going to elect themselves to this position. No. Not even me. Some of the best advice I ever got in my life was from Tom Green, of all people. And I asked him how he was dealing with being on a TV show years ago. And he said that you just wait 5 minutes and somebody else will trip balls for you. And that way you don't have to get Hay House on the phone. David Bobke, I don't even know what you're doing over there. Just wait 5 minutes. And that's more true now than it was even then. Just hang on a second. It feels like we have to, truck and just go full tilt. That's not the case. You're being herded and maneuvered Sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively, or I shouldn't even say that, because it is literally. Sometimes it's physically, sometimes it's mentally, but you are being herded and maneuvered. And if you're just like, no, I'm not, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to take my sweet time and I'll figure it out when I figure it out and you can hear from me then, do that. There's nothing they can really do about it. But if you willingly get maneuvered by the border collie that is, the media or a helicopter, then you went along with it. But if you're the one in the herd that turns around and tells the border collie to suck it for 10 minutes, I'm over here eating some grass and I got to think about some things, they'll just move on to somebody else. Just pump the brakes and hang out for as long as you need until you can gather your situation together. I've been thinking about doing a show for days and I'm like, oh my God, how am I even going to take all of these thoughts and make them not only condensed, concise, and, packageable for this show. And I made notes and I made a flow chart. I did all kinds of stuff and I just couldn't really put it all into one show, but I did want to read you some things while we're sitting here. Because on this show, I only but I really only talk about stuff that I have, not necessarily skin in the game, but, oh my gosh, my head is just killing me. Doodle, if you do not stop crying, I swear to God. My dogs are crying and they're driving me crazy. Stop crying. Go somewhere. Take yourself somewhere. I thought I kicked him out. I really thought that. Trying to make this concise. And the only thing that I really try to talk about on this show is stuff that I know. And I kind of feel the same way for my social media. I'm not out here just posting willy-nilly and reposting and blah, 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 blah. All of those videos and pictures that I posted from all the conflict this week are mine. I made them on this phone. So I would encourage you to just work on your own situation. Call your people, talk to your people's people. I've been talking to Anita Moncrief a bunch this week, and she's feeling strong again, which is amazing. And so important, and she's one of my most incredible friends in the whole world. I've reposted some of the things that she's written because she is one of my most special friends in the whole world, and I know her, and I talk to her one-on-one. Totally. Lauren Vale said that the entire U.S. needs to take a major time out on their own corners, breathe, digress, calm down, and think about more clear-headed about everything. 1,000%. And although the media will make you feel that you don't have that time, you do. They work on your time, not the other way around. So, I wanted to talk about a couple things that nobody else seems to be talking about, because that's what we do on this show. We're not the first place to experience riots, although this is the first time, I think, where we've had riots in 21 cities at the same time or something obscene like that. They're absolutely coordinated. They're absolutely funded. And furthermore, if they can fund one side and they can bus in and fly in and put up, dress down one side, it wouldn't surprise me if they could do it the other way. In my opinion, there's the same way they can dress up people in all black and tell them to go throw some Molotov cocktails and break some windows and pay them a day rate. They can do the same thing and put them in rented uniforms, picture pool cars. We have all of these resources all the way around here. I would not think for a second that they weren't dressing and playing the play from both sides. So, with that being said, there have been riots before and people have survived. What does not survive is businesses. Now, I tried to find the after riot statistics and they just don't exist. The best thing I could find was a business census from 1968 of the northwestern region of the United States, and it had a little teeny tiny blibs in it about before and after riots, but even that wasn't particularly liable. So let's talk about some riots from before. Insurance claims from property damage due to Ferguson protests reported to the state totaled $250,000 after the first month of unrest. One prominent local insurance adjuster who processed the 3 claims on West Florissant Avenue estimated damages no more than $5 million, which included $1 million to $1.5 million for the burn quick trip. Okay. That was Ferguson, Missouri. Hi, Sean Menzie. Thank you for coming in. One mailbox in Los Angeles cost that much. We have had several buildings burned, which we don't have the water to put out. BTW, this is the desert. Or they're damaged, like they're basically a car that's total, like they're damaged beyond. They have to be leveled. So you're basically starting over. But those pieces of property are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars per property, not in total. So I don't even know that the damage from just the Los Angeles end is even calculable. This, according to the data from the Insurance Information Institute, the 1992 Los Angeles riots, which started following the acquittals of police officers in the Rodney King beating, cost insurance industry $775 million at the time, around $1.4 billion in 2020 dollars. This event is followed by the Watts riots in 1965, again in Los Angeles, which at the time resulted in the insurance claims of $44 million, around $358 million in 2020 dollars. What a testament to inflation, just right there. Third on the list of the top 10 most costly U.S. civil disorders is the Detroit riots of 1967, which we're going to talk more about in a second, which started following a police raid on an unlicensed bar. The event led to a total insurance claim of $42 million at the time, around $322 million in 2020 dollars. Important to note is that each of the above loss totals relates to damages caused by rioting and unrest in just one region. The current ongoing rioting is happening in multiple cities across numerous states, so it's easy to see how losses could be already running into the billions of dollars. Of course, this remains uncertain as no loss data is currently available, and it won't be available. They're not going to say anything about it. But there's a clearly potential for this to become a meaningful man-made loss for the or insurance industry. It's also worth noting that this event could see some business being able to claim on their business interruption policies for the riots, which couldn't for the ongoing coronavirus situation. There's also different types of insurance, which we'll get into in a second. So I don't think, considering how much research I tried to do to find these after riot statistics, they're just not available. And we've seen plenty of riots throughout history, and if they're not going to start recording this stuff now. But when CEOs like Target come out and say, it's okay, burn it down, I can replace it. Okay, well, you can, but the business next door or across the street probably can't. And furthermore, why would they? There's a few people asking this week of like, if insurance can just be like, nah, I'm out, I don't have to cover this. Anybody who's had to claim something on their insurance will tell you that it is a tooth and nail fight to get your claims. So if said businesses on Fairfax or 3rd Street or Beverly or 3rd Street Promenade, the businesses on Vine Nuys Boulevard, any of these places that got hit, Beverly Center, La Cienega, if they can get through their insurance and if they get a claim check, are they even going to bother reopening? Probably not. There's just not a reason to do that. And they would have to be really, really, really making a concerted effort to like put these businesses back together just from this incident. And then when you combine that with the shutdown from coronavirus and they already had so much debt to their landlords and things like that, they're probably just going to walk away. That's what happened in Missouri. If you go read some of the testimonies from people that were business owners in Ferguson and in Baltimore, they just decided to cut and run because there just wasn't a point. But it wouldn't surprise me if thirds, especially like the Fairfax district, it's where all the cool kids have stores like Diamond Supply Co. and Supreme and all of these shoe places and stuff like that. I don't think those buildings are old too. I don't think they're just gonna pop back up in place. I highly doubt it. And then furthermore, like we're already in a really fat, nasty recession. So we've never seen a time in history where we broke an entire supply chain for like entire industries. And on top of it, our little supply chain was so incredibly fragile to begin with because of the government mandated shutdowns for businesses that were deemed non-essential by people that are nameless and faceless and have zero accountability. They've already been through so much. I just don't think there would be a reason to come back to it. I just don't think that would be the case. So if you find after riot statistics, I would love to see them. I would love to talk about insurance all day long. But that's just not something that is available, unfortunately. I went looking for these things and I just couldn't find them and they don't seem to exist. So if you find them, send them to me because I would like to read them. I would like to see how we get past these things because I called everybody that I could think of that was around for the riots in 1992. Like, all right, how did you guys get over this? How did you get past to it? What did you have to do? What kind of labor was involved? What's the checklist? Not to mention the people who died or hurt protecting their businesses. Absolutely. The life cost in this has just been obscene. Like the body count, they're not even going to tell us the body count. Like there's no way that they're going to give us the statistics on that. There's no way. So with that being said, if you see a story or you know of someone who lost their life or was severely injured in this whole debacle, make sure you post about it so at least some people will hear about it, because it's not fair to us that we're living in this media flashlight situation, but we're living in a time where they've got their programming down to the finest of fine tuning, and it's obviously like it's playing out. So if you see any of those things, send them to me because I want to read them. And I will see you all next week, pending we survive this apocalypse and, murder hornets or something. Check out other shows on Public House Media that are not nearly as dark or dirty as this one, like Confessions of a Military Spouse or Your Life Matters, or what else is there? I think Crowned and Dangerous is still going. We have a new show on the network called Catch Up, which could be a fun thing to watch right now, although there doesn't seem to be much fun to be had. And go do things. Leave your house and go do stuff. It's absolutely necessary right now. Just find something to do with yourselves, and I will see you all next week. Bye, 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 bye.